Hello and welcome to Ben's Ramblings. Recipes, reviews, and ramblings. Today I have a recipe from my childhood. I grew up in Rhode Island and one of my favorite summer meals was New England clam chowder and clam cakes. If you've ever been to Key West, they're similar to a conch fritter, but they have what in Rhode Island we call caw hogs, clams. Let me show you the ingredients which I've prepped and we'll get started with the chowder. All right, let's take a look at our ingredients. We have 4 dozen top neck clams. We would have preferred cherry stones, but any that are about this size, 2 to 3 inches across, will work great. You don't want little necks, those are too small, and I really don't care for what they call chowder clams, which are normally really large. These clams have already been washed in the sink under cold running water with a soft bristled brush. You want to get as much dirt and sand off of them as possible because we're going to use the broth that these steam open in to build the base for the chowder. We have 1 large or 2 medium onions diced, a half a pound of thick cut bacon, cut into about 1/2 inch lardons or 1/2 inch pieces. We have a pound of red potatoes, about 4 medium sized potatoes, which have also been diced into about a 1/2 inch dice. 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of fresh thyme leaves, 2 tablespoons of minced fresh parsley, a cup of heavy cream, 3 cups of water, and salt and pepper. We also have 1 bay leaf. All right, let's get started with the prep. Okay, we're gonna pour in the water and get it boiling first. Skip forward a little. And now that it's boiling, we're going to add the clams. And we want to steam these open. So we're going to cover them up, and about 5 minutes later we'll check, and we'll look and see if any of the clams have opened yet. And you want them to be open more than the crack that you see some of these clams open. You really want them to be open. So you can see some of the ones I've pulled out on the left there. And we're just going to keep doing this. Every 2 minutes or so, we'll keep checking and pulling out any open clams. And at this point, I realized these were some really dirty clams. You can see how dark the water has gotten. And you'll see in a little bit, I'm going to filter out the broth because we want to use this broth to give the flavor to the clam chowder. So we're almost done opening all the clams. 1 more shot. You can see here, I'm rinsing the dirt, the sand out of them. If you wanted to remove the sand in advance, what you could do is put the clams in a bowl of water with some bread. And this clam here didn't open, and if they haven't opened in about 15 or 20 minutes, they're normally dead, so you just get rid of them. Here I'm taking the clams out of the shells. There's 2 little muscles that hold the clams in, and I'm just trying to cut that with the knife and actually scrape it off the shell because that muscle's got a bunch of flavor. So we'll do that to a couple, and then we'll jump ahead. So here you see I pulled the clam out so you can see the muscle, and I'm going to cut that off. And I'll just show you here roughly how chopped I like them, or how finely chopped I like them. But I'm going to off camera pull the rest of the clams out of the shells, and we'll jump ahead to when I'm dicing all of them up. But that's about the dice I like. And now here's all the rest of the clams. It's kind of a coarse chop. You do want some texture there, you don't want them too fine. And there's my wife stealing a piece. Okay, now I'm taking the broth and straining it into the strainer. I have a funnel that's lined with a couple layers of paper towel. And I'm just straining this through, and you can see that black sand in there. And once it's run through the strainer, once the broth is run through the strainer, you'll see that it's actually pretty clear. The only cloudiness you see is actually the salt from the clams And there you go, there's that broth that's cleaned off. We'll take a little more and get rid of the rest of it. Okay, I've cleaned the pot. We're going to add the bacon and get that browning. Just going to break up the pieces that are stuck together from the way it was sliced. And we'll jump ahead. And now it's starting to get nice and crispy, and I'm going to throw in the diced onion. And we're going to let this cook down till the onions get soft. And again, I'm just stirring to break up the onions. Again, same thing. They've been diced and the layers of the onions are kind of stuck together. Let's jump ahead. The onions now softened up. And we're going to add the flour. And the flour is going to be used as a thickener, and I wasn't really happy with how thick this was, so I added a few tablespoons of cornstarch later on, and you'll see that. So I'm going to just stir in the flour, and we're going to cook that a little bit because we don't want the raw flour to be in the soup. We want to cook in the fat of the bacon. Alright, now that it's cooked in a little bit, we're going to slowly whisk in the broth. So I'll whisk a ladle of broth in at a time, and you can see it thickens up pretty well, and that's because of that flour. And jumped ahead. And I know it looks dark, but once we add the cream, it'll lighten it up. So just add the rest of that broth there. Gonna whisk the remainder of that in. All right, now we're going to add the potatoes. And the potatoes need to cook for at least 15 minutes in the broth. So we're going to add the potatoes, the bay leaf, and the thyme at this point. There's the thyme, and here's the bay leaf. All right, this is 15 minutes later. You can see potatoes have helped thicken it up a little bit. Now we're going to add the clams that we diced up in and the juice from them. Okay, we'll add the cream first. And then the parsley. And we'll stir it in. And we've had it simmering for a while now, but I'm going to add that slurry. So I took some of the chowder out, put some cornstarch, a couple tablespoons, whisked it into that, and then we stirred it in, and this is going to thicken a little bit. And I liked it even thicker still, so I do this one more time, another couple tablespoons of cornstarch with some water, and whisk it in to thicken up the broth, or to thicken up the chowder. So here's the second time, and you'll see it starts getting nice and thick, and this is the way I like it. I like it very thick. Some people like it on the more watery side. You can adjust it however you prefer. As you bring it to a boil, it'll get even thicker. And you want to simmer for 45 minutes to an hour or so. Alright, now we'll move on to the clam cakes. A half a cup of clam juice. This is jarred Bumblebee all-natural clam juice. 4 tablespoons of whole milk. 6 ounces of chopped clams, and for this I'm using a canned clam, and they're Bumblebee chopped clams. You obviously could use fresh clams if you'd like. So, this is the flour, and I'm going to sift this with the other ingredients. It's the flour, baking powder, the salt, garlic powder. I'm just going to sift this all into the bowl. The full recipe is linked to down below in the description. I'm going to beat this egg. And to that we're going to add the clam juice. The milk. And then the chopped clams. And we're going to slowly mix in the dry ingredients in a few batches so it doesn't just all clump together. Basically add a little bit at a time and then just make sure it's fully incorporated before you add more. About 4 or 5 batches. So now that's fully incorporated, you have a loose batter. It's not really a dough, it's more a batter. Okay, we're outside. I set up this pot with some oil in it on top of the Blackstone so we can deep fry the clam cakes. I know some people like to take the pot, put it directly on the Blackstone. I think it takes too long to get hot. I think, you know, it's a lot easier doing it this way. I have 2 of these butane burners, which work great. We use them for parties. They're the same type of burners you'd see at like a hotel buffet, at the omelet station or something like that. Or if they had a pasta station, you'd see the chefs with a burner similar to this, in a pan, making the omelets, making pasta with whatever sauces you'd like. So we use these a lot when we have holidays and we have not enough cooking space on our cooktop. we can break out 2 of these, put them on the counter in the kitchen. They are safe to use inside. The only reason I'm using them outside today is because the oil and the deep frying smell I'd rather keep out of the house. And it's a nice day out, so might as well do this. It also eliminates the mess of splattering oil all over. If I get it on the Blackstone, I'll just clean it up. Super simple, wipe it down and be done with it basically. All right, let's wait for the oil to heat up. It's not quite there yet. We're waiting for about 350, 375 degrees. And then we're gonna take a number 30 serving scoop. Those look like a traditional ice cream scoop. The number 30 is the size. And we're gonna scoop the batter directly into the oil and fry them up and see how they do. Okay, I think we're just about up to temp. Let's take a look. All right, a little above 350, that's perfect. Let's try one and see how it goes. This is our number 30 scoop. All right, looks like it could still go a little longer inside, so let's drop a couple now. Oh, that's good. They'll be even better when we dunk them in the clam chowder. All right, let's give this a try. Nice and creamy. The bacon gives it a nice smoky taste. The clams are tender. Potatoes are tender. Absolutely fantastic. Now let's try it with one of the clam cakes. Not dry, really good texture, a lot of clams in here, nice sweet clam taste, absolutely fantastic, perfect pair, perfect summer dish. If you like this recipe, please give it a thumbs up. If you try the recipe, please leave a comment down below and let me know how it is. And again, please subscribe and ring that bell.
Ding ding.
Thanks a lot. Hope to see you next time.